The film opens with a scene of someone handling a corpse in an unknown location. The body is immediately dismembered and buried afterward. Not long after, the scene shifts to a man named Jack, who is waiting by the roadside. Interestingly, there is a sign on this road that reads, "Never give a ride to anyone." It's unclear what the message means, but one thing is certain. Every car that passes by refuses to give Jack a ride. Whether from newcomers or locals, Jack can only stand there trying to suppress his frustration. As time passes, Jack keeps walking until he accidentally witnesses an argument between a man and a woman. Suddenly, the man leaves without a word, abandoning the woman in the middle of the road. After talking for a while, Jack learns that the woman's name is Veronique. She's a native French speaker but is very fluent in English. Meanwhile, Jack is an Englishman who, unfortunately, doesn't understand French at all. For context, Jack is currently in France. Unfortunately, while trying to return home, he gets mugged on the road. As a result, all his money, phone, and car are stolen by a group of robbers. The only thing left is his passport, which he still has with him. Unlike Jack, Veronique lives alone and plans to move abroad, since she no longer has anyone left in the area. She shares that both of her parents passed away due to chronic illnesses, which of course has left her deeply saddened. As night falls, they decide to spend time in a wooded area to keep warm. During their conversation, Veronique mentions that she has recently been practicing her signature. The next morning, Jack wakes up to find that Veronique is no longer beside him. It turns out she is taking a dip in a nearby lake. In the end, Jack decides to jump in and join her. After bathing together, they continue their journey on foot, walking along the roads in the area. Just as they are beginning to lose hope, a car suddenly appears offering them a ride. However, instead of feeling relieved, Veronique looks terrified of the man who has stopped to help them. The man's name is Grizzard, a local resident. He is not very fluent in English, so he invites Jack and Veronique to stay at his house. He also wants them to meet his wife, who once lived in England. With no other choice, Jack accepts the offer, and they set off for Grizzard's house. Upon arrival, they are greeted by Grizzard's wife, a woman named Mary. Mary then leads Jack to his bedroom, while Grizzard takes Veronique to hers. As soon as Mary leaves, Jack, exhausted from the journey, collapses onto the bed and falls asleep. He only wakes up when night has fallen. His curiosity leads him to a box labeled Grizzard. When he opens it, he finds several old photographs of a younger Grizzard and Mary. However, what catches Jack's attention the most is a photo of a young boy and a young girl inside the box. Looking at the pictures, Jack becomes convinced that Grizzard and Mary are not the only ones living in this house. Yet since their arrival, neither he nor Veronique has seen any sign of the children. After dinner, Jack approaches Veronique, who is smoking on the porch. Hoping to grow closer, Veronique starts sharing a personal story. She reveals that she once had a younger brother, but tragically, he died after being run over by a tractor while they were playing hide-and-seek in a field. Later, Jack goes back inside and joins Grizzard to watch TV. At this point, Jack mentions that he will be leaving soon, as he needs to return to England to inform his family. Veronique, too, plans to move abroad in search of a better future. Not long after, Jack casually asks Grizzard if he has any children. Strangely, Grizzard firmly replies that he does not have any children at all. But then whose children were in the photos Jack saw in the box? Grizzard's answer completely contradicts what Jack had seen, leaving him puzzled. However, he decides not to dwell on it and goes straight to bed. The next morning, Jack wakes up and takes a shower as usual. But something feels off. The house is eerily quiet, and Veronique is nowhere to be seen. A sense of dread creeps into Jack's mind as he imagines the worst possible scenarios that might have happened to Veronique. Suddenly, Grizzard appears, holding a hammer in his hand. Calmly, he tells Jack that Veronique left at dawn, and that he didn't want to disturb Jack's sleep. Despite this, Jack grows more suspicious of Grizzard's behavior. The man claims he was just fixing a cabinet door, but Jack remains unconvinced. His suspicion slightly eases, though, when he finds a letter supposedly written by Veronique before she left the house. Little does he know, the letter only confirms that something is terribly wrong. Veronique's signature on the letter looks completely different from the one she had been practicing when they were stranded by the roadside. Unfortunately, before Jack can fully process this unsettling realization, he is suddenly attacked by someone and blacks out. When Jack regains consciousness, he finds himself inside a pickup truck. the same truck that was briefly seen at the beginning of the film. It turns out that Jack has been kidnapped by a middle-aged man named Delacroix. It doesn't take long for Jack to realize that he has been taken to the lair of a psychopath. However, instead of torturing him, Delacroix simply feeds Jack a plate of food without revealing much information. All the threats he makes are nothing more than intimidation tactics to keep Jack from resisting like a frightened child. In fact, Delacroix even unties Jack's hands only to immediately snap a photo of him with a camera. Jack has no idea what Delacroix's true intentions are, but before he can figure it out, he is restrained again, this time with several layers of duct tape. Now, Delacroix prepares to inject something into Jack's body, using a syringe he has already set up. Luckily, just before the needle pierces his skin, Delacroix gets distracted by the stove, which is still on and starting to emit smoke. Seizing the opportunity, Jack makes a run for it as fast as he can, sprinting as far as possible to escape the deranged man's clutches. Step by step, he pushes forward until he finally makes it back to Grizzard's house. From a distance, he sees Mary and her husband getting ready to leave. The moment they drive away, Jack wastes no time rushing inside to search for Veronique. His suspicions are confirmed. Veronique is found tied up in one of the rooms. Without hesitation, Jack immediately frees her. Unfortunately, at that very moment, Grizzard and Mary return home. Just as Jack and Veronique start to feel relieved, their nightmare isn't over yet. With no other option, they must run. Better to escape now than be caught inside the house. But their sudden flight doesn't go unnoticed. Mary and Grizzard quickly realize what's happening and begin to panic. This is anything but a fair fight. Grizzard chases them down in his car while Jack and Veronique are forced to flee on foot. Eventually, they are cornered in a field, left with no choice but to face Mary and Grizzard directly. But Veronique refuses to give up. She quickly leads Jack to hide inside a cabin. Unfortunately, they fail to realize that the cabin belongs to Delacroix, and even worse, Delacroix has already arrived. Delacroix looks confused when he sees them inside his cabin. But before he can react, Jack grabs a shotgun and threatens him. Shocked, Delacroix loses his balance, slips, and impales himself on a sharp metal rod. No one knows exactly what's going through Veronique's mind. But instead of escaping, she suddenly hides Jack under a tarp. As if unsatisfied with Delacroix's suffering, she then plunges a knife straight into his chest, ensuring that he dies on the spot. Not long after, Grizzard and Mary enter the cabin. Grizzard immediately speaks to Veronique in French. And that's when everything is revealed. Grizzard calls Veronique child. He even envisions what she looked like when she was little. In other words, Veronique had been lying to Jack all along, and so had Grizzard, who had been hiding the truth from him. At this moment, everything becomes clear. Veronique is a serial killer who can murder anyone without a clear reason. She even brutally killed her younger brother, dismembering his body right after they finished playing hide-and-seek. That's why at the beginning of the film we see a corpse being mutilated. It was Veronique who did it. But by now Jack is too overwhelmed by the situation to listen to any explanations from Mary or Grizzard, who are, in fact, Veronique's biological parents. Tragically, as Mary tries to explain everything in English to Jack, Veronique knocks her unconscious. Now only Grizzard remains, unable to do anything. He can only watch helplessly as Veronique and Jack leave the place. After that, Veronique immediately urges Jack to leave the country with her. As she drives, she smiles joyfully. Jack feels the same, although, in reality, it's only a matter of time before Veronique kills him too. From the very start of the film, we were given a clue through the road sign that said, "Do not pick up hitchhikers." This was a warning. Veronique had tried to escape from her parents multiple times. Grizzard even put up the sign in a desperate attempt to keep his daughter from running away again. Moreover, Grizzard and Mary were caught in a difficult position. They didn't want their daughter to go to prison, but at the same time, they couldn't let new victims continue to pile up every month. That's why Grizzard hired Delacroix, a butcher, to drug Jack and take him to a port. Some might ask, why didn't Grizzard, Mary, or even Delacroix just tell Jack that Veronique was a murderer? The answer is simple. It would have been pointless. They knew that Jack would believe Veronique over them. She had played the victim from the very beginning, crafting her story to make herself seem innocent. Alright, that's it for the storyline breakdown of Road Games 2015. See you in the next videos.